the Reagan National Library, for anybody in the room that has been, it's an incredible place, as most presidential libraries are. You notice, one of the things I find striking is that you see when Ronald Reagan was a spokesperson for GE, that he went around the nation on the trains and interacting with people and getting a feel and really fine-tuning speaking. Where do you really think? I mean, his speaking ability today, I mean, as you said, you look on YouTube with this speech, you get goosebumps, other speeches. Where do you think this great communicator came from?
Well, first of all, he was uncomfortable with the term great communicator. He always said, I just communicate great things. But he did actually deliver what people felt was an honest presentation. And part of that GE tour, he was actually campaigning for Barry Goldwater, and went around the country, and frankly a lot of people said this probably should have been our nominee, because he was making the case for Goldwater better than Goldwater was making the case. And in fact, at the end of the Goldwater campaign, when Barry Goldwater is trailing significantly, they tapped Ronald Reagan to do a 30-minute TV address to defend Goldwater. And it was an amazing speech, and it identified with a lot of people, and at that point people said, this guy is the future of the Republican Party.
Well, where do you think it came from within him? So that this person that could communicate great ideas, as he would say.
So I think a lot of it goes back to his value system, who he was. In this sense, I think he's a lot like Eisenhower in that he valued small town America. He often talked back to Dixon, Illinois, where he grew up. And this sense of neighbors, your neighbors are inherently good people at heart. And so seeing the optimism in people rather than the negative side. He used this all the time. He also disarmed people with humor throughout his career. In fact, when he was president, in the Oval Office desk, he kept a stack of 3x5 cards with jokes on them. And he would deploy them in the Oval Office all the time. Some of them were really corny, kind of dad jokes. But others, he would say, did you hear, that the Soviet Union now has $1 million lottery, and if you win, you get $1 a year for 1,000,000 years. I mean, he would just bust these out, and Gorbachev literally would roll his eyes. Again. And he did the same thing with Democrats on Capitol Hill. He had a great relationship, as you may know, with Tip O'Neill, the House Speaker. A great relationship, I'd say, in personal relations. They got together for drinks and dinner quite a bit at the residence in the White House. They were Irishmen. They both told stories. They drank whiskey. They slapped each other on the back. And Reagan said, this is fantastic. We have an amazing relationship. And Tip O'Neill said, Mr. President, it's fine after 6 o'clock. Before 6 o'clock, it's all politics. And it was knockdown, drag-out politics that was really, really harsh. And one particularly harsh day, when Tip O'Neill was lambasting President Reagan and the administration, Reagan called O'Neill and said, well, Tip, it's 6 o'clock on my watch. What do you say?
It's great.
That's the best Reagan I have.